So, the year is 2014, a time where you got such bangers like Bayonetta 2, Shadow of Mordor, Shovel Knight, and Far Cry 4. To say 2014 wasn't a banger would be a massive understatement. Studios were straight up cooking in those kitchens. There was one game, however, that came out that year which probably gave them that massive eureka moment. Dark Souls 2. The Souls series at that point was doing really well, I would say. You probably know why.
Verbal busting difficulty that turns you from whiny little bailers to absolute sigma chads. Look at these nails for breakfast. Yeah!
So, we made the God Eater games. 2 decent hunting games. Why don't we give it a shot? Show that we have what it takes to go toe-to-toe with Big From Software. We'll keep our signature style that we did from the God Eater games, have AI companions to make the game more approachable, and the biggest thing we gotta add, a robust character customizer and big anime honkers. Code Vein comes out to an average reception of 7 out of 10, which isn't bad, but at the same time, isn't that great either. That's where this leads us today. With a new game on the horizon, where does this game hold up in 2026? And was it really any good when it originally came out? When you start the game, you are greeted with a really robust and complex character creator, which they brought over from God Eater and expanded upon. You gotta remember, when this game came out, there wasn't many games that had cel-shaded character creators that really allowed you to fully customize the player's body, while also allowing you to put on a bunch of accessories to add even more flair to your character, even though there is a limit of how many of those you can actually use, allowing you to make the husbando or waifu that you wished for.
One eternity later.
Once you fine-tune your character after 5 hours, you are dropped into the tutorial, given the basics on combat, leading up to you waking up. Waking up, you got quite a sight in front of you. Seeing the big titty waifu, we ain't even properly in the game yet, and they are already giving us the goods already. Thirsting for blood, body aching with pain, the mysterious lady guides us to a dried up spring of some kind, biting into our arm to allow our blood to drip into it. To our surprise, it makes the spring come back to life, giving us a blood bead to help us from dying of thirst. We get captured not long after by people in masks, arriving at some sort of prison. A prisoner there tells us everything we need to know. Us, the player character, and everyone else around us are remnants. People who died but came back to life. Immortal beings that will keep coming back to life as long as your heart isn't destroyed. However, every time we die, we lose little bits of our memory. If you don't drink blood as a revenant, you become the Lost. Beings that kill with no remorse and are like the undead in a sense. We also learn about the mask we need to wear, as the miasma in the air makes the need for blood exponentially grow for revenants, in turn making them turn into Lost quicker. Once we are done with that history lesson, we are forced by our captors to look for blood beads, with the mysterious woman being held as a hostage to force us to work. Kicked down a hole with a decent person named Oliver, we work on getting the blood beads we need to get back to our mysterious lady friend. Making our way through the city undergrounds, we run into a freshly turned Lost that attacks Oliver, which manages to damage his mask. He's winded and decides to remain put as we continue on running into a stranger that decides to aid us. We find another blood spring and activate it, grabbing some blood beads as the stranger is in bewilderment. Pushing through more till we reach the surface of the ruins with none other than Oliver awaiting us. However, he's freshly turned and we have no other choice but to fight him. After his defeat, he leaves behind a vestige, a crystal that if touched would turn any revenant into a Lost. So, what do you think we do? Of course, we touch the red shiny thing. Our eyes glow blue as we pick it up, getting engulfed by the light, finding us in a void with nothing more than small lights guiding our path in this boundless void. Oliver's voice echoes throughout the void as we seem to go through his memories, showing parts of his past before we had to kill him. We reunite with the mysterious girl and stranger within the void. She tells us this is a memory echo which holds lost recollections of people before they were gone. Pushing through the door, we head back to the real world. The stranger tells us his name, Louis. Leading us into our hub, learning that the red mist showed up as soon as the queen died, trapping us within. The hub is well made. It's got everything you really need. A vendor to sell, buy, or upgrade equipment, a mirror to allow you to re-customize your character, a jukebox to play some jams, and a bunch of furnishings that you can interact with to make taking photos of your characters better. Plus, other NPCs that you can converse with. The mysterious lady remembers her name, Io. Her purpose is to be by our side. Hey, I ain't gonna complain about that, you know? I got 2 big reasons why after all. Overall, the intro is decent. You got decent production, decent pacing to ease us into everything, instead of just vomiting everything onto us and getting us overwhelmed. Now, let's get into the meat of any Souls-like, combat. Combat is really, really good. While yes, it only has 5 weapon types, which at first may seem limiting, it's everything else around the combat that truly shines. Let's start with leveling your character. As you can see, my character here is level 168. You can see all the usual stats like HP and defense, but also see a specific stat named Blood Code. This stat is what truly sets Code Vein as its own thing. Blood codes are your classes that you get from friendly NPCs and by exploring and finding random vestiges throughout your adventure. But you're probably going like, but Ram, aren't you stuck with whatever blood code you pick for the rest of the game? Well, no actually. You are able to freely switch between any blood code that you wish throughout the game, as long as you have it unlocked. The game auto-adjusts it whenever you switch, showing which points go where and where it doesn't. All for the price of free. That means limitless possibilities on how you want to play and whichever weapons you want to use. If you can think it, there's probably a blood code for it. Go from being a strong, tanky god of destruction that bonks people to oblivion, to an agile assassin that uses swords and bayonets dashing around to make as much space as possible. This also goes into another thing with blood codes, the perks and abilities. Each blood code has its strengths and weaknesses, but the abilities and perks open a huge can of devastation for you. Let's use the Prometheus code that Louis has, for example. You get stuff like Phantom Assault, passive stuff like parrying instantly getting your stamina back to max, and applying fire damage to you and your partner's weapons. These skills and abilities require I-Core to use, which you get from just smacking enemies, allowing you to really mix up your strats of doing long range or going in for the kill as long as you got the I-Core needed for your abilities and such. You may think that's cool and all,
but wait! There's more!
What if I told you that you, yes you, can transcend that and show that you alone are the codeless one? Well, you can. Once you max out proficiency with a skill, be it through smacking enemies and killing enemies, or a secret way. Psst! Hey kid, come here. I got some materials for ya. You can take any skill and or passive that you want and use it for whatever class you want, which can make your playstyle even more unique, making the possibilities truly become endless. The only issue I will say that comes to the blood code system is your passive limit. While you can hold 8 abilities or skills at all times, you can only have 4 passives, which maybe it's because of balance and they didn't want to make you too powerful, but to me it makes me feel slightly limited as I usually just use 2 of those 4 slots just for increasing my maximum stamina and health. Otherwise, a really fantastic feature. The weapon feel is good. Everything has the right weight about it, except for 2 things, the bayonet attack and the drain attack. The drain attack doesn't work half the time. The boss will be on their knees pleading, and right when I'm about to morb out and drain them, pause, of their I-Core, god damn it, get your head straightened. Whenever I think it's gonna connect, my character just drifts and glides around them as if I was a tofu delivery driver or some shit. The other thing, the bayonet. It's a good weapon, except for its second and third hit in its melee attack chain. Because of the lower diagonal angle those 2 attacks do, I've had multiple times where the attacks wouldn't connect, even when I'm locked onto the enemy.
Hell no, to the no, no, no.
Hey, at least I get to pull up and start blasting people with a gun.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bah! Bah!
Enemy variety, including bosses who become normal enemies down the line, I find to be slightly, and I mean slightly, lacking. We have some reskins, but it feels like there should have been at least 2 other enemy types of unique attacks. Outside of that though, the variety gets the job done. On the topic of variety as well, location wise it's alright, with 2 areas being something to say the least. But that will be talked about once we get into the story. The last thing to talk about is what keeps the game going and piecing bosses and locations, that being the story. Now to give you the quick version of it, this story is really delightful for any write it has to be. I was not expecting generally written characters that actually develop a bit over the span of the game. The voice work from all the characters is decent as well. You can hear the emotion behind how they act and such, except for Louis. His voice doesn't really change much no matter the circumstance, or at least from what I can tell. But before I go more in depth about the story, I'm going to put up a spoiler warning and a timestamp somewhere on screen so you can skip all the spoilers and just get to my closing remarks. I'll give you 3 seconds or so. Alright, we have 3. No, actually make it 4 major story arcs that tie the story together. That being, the source of blood beads, our forgotten memories, relics, and recollections. The Blood Bead arc revolves around you, Louis, and Yakumo venturing out in search of blood springs since you have the power to activate them. Leading us into the broken, dilapidated city, fighting a bunch of the usual loss till you get a boss fight with Butterfly Weird Hitbox here, who I swear to god, it feels like dodging her dashes is a 50-50 chance. Still, an okay fight overall. We end up at a dried up sea. By chance, Louis dropped a vestige, most likely a memory that was forgotten, showing that he and Cruz, that being the queen, were close, visiting every day till she became the queen that everyone feared and killing both him and his sister. Showing that even the most grounded people can show a sign of weakness, and that's the thing, right? This game teaches us the importance of memories. It gets drilled into your head a lot about how this cycle won't end for revenants. They live, die, repeat, with nothing lost except their memories. Let me spin you a scenario. Say you were one of those revenants. You had a wife, 2 kids. Now imagine you got bonked and came back to life twice. You'd probably shrug it off and think nothing is wrong, till you realize that you were never married and you didn't have a family. In reality you do, but your mind doesn't know that. A point that no one would have noticed unless you talk to a specific NPC in the prison at the start of the game is where he states this.
Are you going to kill me too? Anything for a kick, right? Just don't crush my heart. Stop already. My body may still be alive, but my soul died long ago. No one could stay sane after dying again and again and again and again. Don't take my memories, my family. I have nothing left.
In a sense, memories for all these people are all that's left of their humanity. Vestiges are the last of people's humanity before they either faded away or became a lost. But isn't a revenant a lost if they've gotten to the point where they don't remember anything at all? Yes and no. Yes, because they are lifeless like a lost with no moral compass other than survival of the fittest. However, their minds are intact even if empty. It's not like they can't speak or anything. The Bloodthirst isn't corrupting them either. It's a duality of learning something from scratch for them. That's what this game excels at, painting the picture of all these people who have suffered, showing that they don't want to keep dying over and over again. Because if they do, they will lose everything that holds them together and make them who they are. After the memory, we can see why Louis is so adamant on finding everything on blood beads. He wants suffering for remnants to be fully over so the cycle won't continue. Making haste through the dried up sea, dealing with another boss, it's not an interesting fight to say the least. It's a lot like a regular enemy, but their size is twice the amount and they hurt harder. We find another spring, showing that its source is back in the direction of the city. Before we head back to the abandoned city, we see a mysterious but well-dressed man holding a weird crystal emitting a blue aura, which he just shoves inside a very interestingly dressed woman.
Oh, great heavens!
But I mean, everyone is into something, right? Apparently, the man is known as the Hunter. No, not that one, goddammit. A revenant that is known as the boogeyman to a lot of people. He and the mysterious woman vanish without a trace, leaving us with more questions than answers. Heading back into the city, we find a rather ominous hole that we have to carefully go down, giving me straight up Dark Souls 2 flashbacks.
No, 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 no! Wait.
Now, remember Blighttown from Dark Souls 1 with everyone's favorite poison swamp that you had to deal with a bunch? Now, replace that with water that makes you move super slow, with visibility down to like 5%. That's this place, the Howling Pit. Oh, and I forgot to mention how the map works. Whenever you find a small red miasma flower or any of the mistles, it reveals a small portion of the map of the area. But I kid you not, it's really, really, really bad in this area. Don't even get me started on the second half where there are random gaps you wouldn't have noticed unless you angle the camera to see better. At least those sections get dealt with quickly, so they aren't really an issue. We get to the underground spring, showing that the source is back in the abandoned city. Right when we're about to leave though, we get ambushed by a revenant named Mia Karnstein, who is trying to find blood beads for her younger brother that seems to be showing signs of bloodthirst. While of course Louis and Yamato do show sympathy, Mia doesn't fully trust them. I mean, who wouldn't, right? We've seen what a majority of revenants do to each other. They use them as labor to get all the blood beads for themselves and such. Trust isn't a normal thing earned. We go our separate ways at first, but tail them, going into our boss fight with Water Hatsune Miku.
Hatsune Miku! Is that you? Have you come to put me out of my misery?
A fun fight requiring you to be on the move a lot since she has a nasty slow debuff that she will slowly apply with every hit she gets on you. However, it seems too late. Nicola is disintegrated into ash by who we assume was the hunter, the man we ran into back at the dried up sea. We get a glimpse into Nicola's memories from a vestige that shows him and the hunter seem to not be enemies and know each other. More questions are pointed towards this hunter, but before we can formulate some guesses, Mia suddenly enters a frenzy, most likely due to her neglecting her own blood first to make sure her brother is taken care of first, where we take her back to home base to heal. Mia gets visions of things from touching the vestige originally before we took it away from her, being the same ones we went through. Awakening in home base, she decides to join the party in the pursuit of the bloodbead source in hopes of finding the snowy mountain. Before heading out, she mentions a mechanism that we haven't heard about that can lead us to where the source is. Once we activate the mechanism, we head through, leading us to the worst area in the whole game. The cathedral. God, this is gonna be PTSD.
Leave me alone!
The Cathedral of the Sacred Blood, and let me just say this now, fuck this area! The map just makes no actual sense. It felt like the devs just pressed a bunch of buttons and this just suddenly appeared. Are you prepared to get lost for what feels like an eternity, over and over again, till you can't tell which way is left or right? Even after 4 playthroughs and having the map fully available right from the start, it still takes me 35 to 45 minutes to get through. Not because of the enemies, but because of the layout being copy and paste. The reason why it's called the Cathedral of Sacred Blood is because the blood inside you becomes so sacred because of how much you have to go through. The only thing that is okay about the area is a mini-boss, but it's nothing to really write home about. It's just a big guy. After beating the mini-boss, you notice a vestige next to an axe. We'll talk about that in a bit. Finally, going through all that to the actual cathedral, we get stopped by someone who looks identical to Io, telling us that with your power you can stitch vestiges together to keep someone's memory alive. But we have no time to waste for that, as we are at one of our next main bosses. I have mixed feelings on the boss. Well yes, visually design-wise, it's cool. Having a second phase due to it being able to regenerate quickly from the weird crystal as well. It being able to use multiple elements keeping you on your toes. Some of these attacks, I don't know, they just don't apparently play by the rules. You have these pillars that can help with evading fast laser attacks the boss does. But sometimes, especially in phase 2, it feels like the attacks just go through the pillars and just knock you down immediately. It just feels jank and clunky because of that. Luckily, it's only long-range attacks that have the issue, since once you get into melee range of the boss, it becomes a non-issue, till it teleports to the other side, that is. After dealing with it, we grab the crystal. While it does look different, it's just the same as any other vestige, at least that's what it seems to be. The person within mentions wanting to protect someone no matter what. They tell us their name is Aurora, who Louis knows as someone who worked with his sister. She tells us about the relics, which are the body parts of the queen, that they put into successors in order for the queen to never become whole again. The tearful reunion ends abruptly for Louis and Aurora as she turns to stone as her final words to him were to head deeper into the cathedral that someone awaits. Which we do with the newfound power of the relic, where it's finally revealed.
So it's true. It was you all along. Karen. What in the world is all this?
All this is a part of her?
It never ended. The Queen was still alive, and we were kept alive all this time because of the blood that flowed from this place. My sister became a successor. She sacrificed herself to stop the Queen, and her tears are what kept us alive.
Louis.
Let's just give him a minute. Sorry for losing my composure. I'm okay now.
So, what's our next step?
Finding the successors.
Are we just gonna leave your sister?
There aren't any signs of frenzy at the moment. Now we know that the lack of blood beads is only a part of the ongoing calamity that was started by the Queen. I want to find a way to end this disaster once and for all. It is a duty that I must see through to the very end.
Shouldn't that be we?
Yakumo.
If a friend is struggling, if they're giving their all trying to push their way forward, well then I've got their back. That's just how it works.
Hey, I said I was glad to do whatever you needed me to, didn't I?
Guys. Listen, that power of yours, it's the only hope we have right now. I'm glad you're here. Let's find the successors before the Queen is resurrected. Karen. We'll be back for you. Just hold on.
The Bloodbead arc of the story is great. You'll find a really decent bit of character development throughout it all, seeing more of how everyone naturally gets along with one another. Only caveats being the Cathedral of the Sacred Blood and parts of the Howling Pit being really, really annoying. Now, remember that vestige I mentioned before after the mini-boss? Well, it's actually a vestige about our memories. Our character was a huge part in Operation Queenslayer, being a person who went toe-to-toe with the Queen and originally died during that, before being brought back as a revenant to continue in the operation. With another surprise, that the hunter named Jack was your partner at the time. You two slowly start to advance from the base to continue to fight, leading you to run into one of the Queen's knights. A boss fight that has an assortment of moves, a phase 2, and can teleport onto you to get the upper hand. Each attack taken from it being meaty, that it can kill you in a couple hits if you aren't careful. With Jack's help, you deal with the knight permanently, but before you get a moment of reprieve, the Queen ambushes you two. Silva, the father of the daughter now turned Queen, gives support when this happens.
This creature will never hurt any of my people again.
Well done.
Your resolve was truly admirable.
Sleep well, friend.
Now, you might be wondering if we turn to Ash, how are we alive after being shot in the heart? Well, it's not specifically stated, but our character is the successor of Blood, which would make sense of the whole being able to activate Mistles and Blood Springs. We do know from the ribcage fight that those relics can regenerate quickly, and while we don't technically have a relic, the Queen's blood was in our system, which probably allowed our body to regenerate and us coming back right when the game initially started, with those memories gone as well. I do wish this part was slightly longer to know more about people like Jack, Karen, and the others. I'm glad that at least this gives us context to everything that didn't make sense before on why we're able to touch vestiges, activate blood springs, and mistles. Once leaving Karen's chamber in the cathedral, we end up having a small altercation with Jack and his partner Eve, before we head out to find the other relics. The search for the relics can be summed up as a character arc for all the supporting cast, as each of the successors we fight are all connected to someone. The successor of Breath being Mia's brother Nicola, the successor of Flame being Yakumo's best friend Emily, and the successor of the Voice being Jack's partner Eve. A lot of character building does happen here, which just makes you want to see these characters succeed at stopping all this once and for all. There is even a villain that helps amplify the arc, Juzo Mido, a mad scientist that would do anything for the evolution of revenants becoming stronger and stronger. After fighting each and every one of them, gaining their relics and letting them spend their final moments with the people they care about, we chase down Juzo to confront him and stop him from reawakening the Queen. Before that happens, however, we have a showdown with two bosses. Orenstein and Smoke. I mean, Cannoneer and Blade Bearer, the best fights in the game in my opinion. It's mainly because it's a 2v2, you and the NPC you chose to bring with you and them, where bosses switch aggro between the both of you, having damaging AoE and single targeting attacks. It's just a very reactive fight where your NPC will cover you and take aggro off one of the bosses, while you do the same and get the upper off of them. If these fights were singular, where you were just fighting them one at a time, it would be mid as fuck. So the devs were really smart in making them a partner fight, especially with them being opposite elements. Catching up to Mido, he tells us an actual plan of getting rid of the red mist, since there is something more dangerous than the lost out there in the world.
Let me ask you something. Do you ever sit back and wonder why you were created in the first place? Or why revenants have power far beyond that of mere humans?
That's simple. Everyone knows it was to stop the Queen when she frenzied.
Aren't you forgetting something? The day of the Great Collapse? The creatures that caused all that ruin. Both Revenants and the Queen were created to eliminate those horrors. And yet, they are all still incomplete. I wanted to witness Gregorio's monstrous transformation with my own eyes, but sadly it cannot be. Now, allow me to show you the truth of our world.
red mist is fading? We can go out. We can leave! Yes! We're free! We can finally escape this horrible prison! We've been here so long! Ah!
So, I got questions like why Diaspida from God Eater is in this game. Like, don't get me wrong, God Eater 1 and 2 are some good-ass hunting games. But I'm perplexed. Like, are they using the model because he just had it on hand? Is this game connected in the God Eater universe in some way, like before 1 or after 3? Like, there isn't anything bad with the reveal or anything. I'm just hella curious now, because everywhere I have looked doesn't really give me an answer. But yeah, Mito gives the whole evolution speech about how we need to continue evolving, and that we need to fight and destroy the horrors in order to ascertain ourselves at the top of the food chain, as the alpha species. Of course, with how many people he sacrificed and tortured, we bring an end to his terror. He's a challenging fight, having some interesting magic attacks and a pretty badass greatsword that he'll hit you with, becoming more deadly as phase 2 starts as he begins to dash swings towards you, leaving a trail of explosions that follow. With Mizo out of the picture fully, Jack tells us the truth about what is going to happen after.
Judging by the state of the red mist, I'd guess that Silva is in a lull at the moment. Still, he has to be on the brink of frenzy.
That means it's only a matter of time. Is there a way we can prevent it? Are you sure? Physically, it is possible. You might be able to take on Silva's relic. But if you do, it will mean taking on Silva's mission as well. And that will not be an easy burden to bear.
Our world cannot survive without the power of the red mist. And that means you would have to sit on that throne forever. Are you truly prepared to accept that fate?
With no plan on stopping, we push through the provincial building, dealing with a reborn Queen's Knight, a bunch of Silva Squad Cerberus, and an attendant of the relics. Finally leading us to the jail of the Stagnant Blood, where we face off against a frenzied Silva known as the Skull King. As the final boss, he does put up quite a fight, technically having 5 phases where he attacks faster and hits harder with every time he powers up, shooting out red energy waves as he tries to close the distance that even explode later in the fight. Heck, he even has a drain attack where he would lunge at you like the player does. If you aren't careful as well, he will combo you a lot, pretty much ending you right there and then. But with good timing on dodges, parries, and assistance with the partner of your choosing, he does go down for the count. With the king dead, you take a hold of all the relics, praying that you can control the powers of the queen without succumbing to its power. But it's too much. Knowing that it's too late, at the last second you show a sign of weakness. Louis stabbing you as you bleed out and die, with each of them taking a relic and taking the role of the successors. Io laying at the place you two met as she turns to ash. And that's Code Vein. Nah, I'm messing with you. Depending on if you get all the vestiges in the area and restore the memory of all the successors, or at least one of them, like the woman in front of the cathedral stated about stitching memories together, you'll end up with a secret boss, the Virgin Born. I will say this real quick. Fuck this boss. Like, legitimately, fuck this boss. It just doesn't work. The lock-on makes it so hard to attack the boss at times. Heck, if you're using the bayonet, you don't even hit them. One of the wackest hitboxes. This goes for all these Souls-like games out there. Stop putting in fucking massive enemies in your game that don't work in small spaces and stuff, because goddamn is it annoying to fight them just because of how bad the camera gets. Like, yeah, design is interesting, but man, this fucking fight just sours the triumphant end in my opinion, especially coming right after the Skull King fight. God, I needed to get that out of my system. Anywho, The two other endings you can get are you take Silva's place on the throne, keeping the red mist flowing for all of eternity, or the true ending, where Io learning over the course of the game that she is a person and not someone tied to a specific destiny, taking all the relics for herself as she is made from the Queen's blood, turning into a massive blood spring tree, freeing all the successors and making them back to normal, and you having a specific blood bead that lets you pass through the red mist whenever you want, leading you, Louis, Yakumo, and Rin to explore the outside world. Now, that's the end of Code Vein, a game that had and still has hit a chord for me. From its limitless possibilities with the blood code system, its really good character development, and a pretty nice character creator. I know there is some stuff I didn't really mention, like the depths in the DLC, which is more content, yeah, but it's nothing that substantial to the story itself, where I feel the mileage would majority be in. Oh, I should mention the fact that there is co-op, which is nice. Can't go wrong with some jolly cooperation after all. Now, that leads us to January 30th, Code Vein 2, which I'm very optimistic about. I really do hope it lives up to being a really good sequel. The only thing I worry about is that it's a soft reset on the series, so all the characters that we got attached to and stuff aren't going to be there. Also, the fact that there is no co-op is kind of perplexing, since that's always something nice to have. And the last thing, which I pray so goddamn much for, is the optimization is really good. Because asking for a 3080 for recommended is a bit much for 1080p, don't you think? But yeah, that was my retrospective on Code Vein. A game that I enjoyed a ton, that I would recommend to everyone who is into Souls-like games. Heck, I would even say this one might be the one that you should use to dip your feet in, with its ease of access to not locking you behind specific classes, and having an NPC companion with you for the entirety of the whole game. Thank you to everyone who has watched this video. You coming and just watching a video I put my heart and soul into helps me out a lot. If you enjoyed the video, why don't you give a video a like to help push this video to more people out there, and consider subscribing, since I plan on covering a lot more Souls-like games and other things. If this video does somehow reach Bandai Namco, I do hope all of you enjoyed the video as well. With that, I will see you guys sometime early to mid-April for a specific video you don't want to miss out on. Remember everyone, keep it familiar.